Hey gorgeous, welcome back to Life in Style. Today's video is going to be a tutorial on this look you see right here. It is now officially holiday Christmas season. So of course there are going to be parties left and right, whether they be for your job or friends or family or whatever. So I wanted to put together a look that I thought was kind of indicative of the season. Definitely a lot of glitter, definitely a lot of pop, something that is definitely going to get noticed. As you can see, I also styled my hair. Usually I just kind of leave it loose, but I thought to do just something a little special. Also put on a really nice pair of costume jewelry earrings that I have that I thought just kind of would bring everything together. So we're going to go through this look and I hope it's something you enjoy. So without further ado, let's get started. To start, I am going to use the Essence I Love Stage eyeshadow primer. If you've seen my videos lately, you know that I have been absolutely loving this shadow primer. It basically acts like a concealer and just covers up any discoloration or anything like that you have on your lid. So I'm just going to put that all over the lid and make sure it's blended out well. Then I usually will always set my eyeshadow primer, but today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to go into my Milani Bella Eyes eyeshadow in Bella Cappuccino, which I usually use. I'm going to only set the top of the eye. And the only reason why I'm doing that is because I'm going to be using shimmers on the bottom. So I don't want to put that over powder. I've, over time, you know, trial and error, kind of and figuring out that if I'm using shimmers or glitters on the eyelid, I want to keep that just on the primer and kind of keep it sticky so that it helps to stick on a little better. So I'm just going to do the top of the eye. Then I'm going to go into my Tartelette in Bloom palette, and I am going to start with the color Rebel, which is this one right here. I'm sorry that this is so reflective. I know it can get in the way of really seeing what the colors are, but this is kind of a light brown, reddish mauvey, I guess. And I'm just going to start carving out my crease as I normally do since my eyes are hooded. And I am using my Sigma Tapered Blending E40, which I normally use to start carving out the crease. That's pretty well carved out. I just want a little bit of color on there to help me know where I am going to be putting more color. So I'm going to grab my Sigma Diffused Crease, which is the E38. It's just a smaller, fluffier brush, and I'm going to go into this color, which is called Leader. It's a little deeper than the color that I just used, so it's more like a maroon color, but also has some brown in there. I'm going to concentrate this color more just in the crease without kind of bringing it up to just add a little more depth there. We are going to cover a lot of this up, but again, and I've said it before, that as I'm doing color, I like using different colors on top of each other, just because, again, I think it just adds a little more interest than just one color on the lid. So as you can see, that is deepening up really nicely on the crease, or in the crease, and I'm just going to keep going back and forth to make sure that it's blended out very well. As you can see, the crease area there is getting a little deeper with that shade, and I'm just kind of concentrating it in the crease. I'm continuously moving the brush back and forth in windshield wiper motion to make sure everything's blended out. And you're going to get a little bit on the lid, that's okay. I just wouldn't go in that area, I just would keep it in the crease. I'm going to pick up a little more of that shade Leader, and I'm going to go back into the crease and deepen it up some more. And again, the name of the game always is blending, because you don't want there to be harsh lines between this shade and the one that you put down earlier to carve out the crease. And even if you don't have a crease to necessarily carve out, if your eyes are not hooded like mine, I always like to start with a transition shade, and a lighter shade always does the trick. Then I'm going to go in with a fluffy brush. I usually use my Sedona Lace EB13. It has absolutely no color on it, and I'm just going to go back into that color and start blending that out even further. And that's the way I like it, because again, we're going to add more colors, you can see with this eye. So that is just kind of to set down that transition shade and to have the other shadows really blend out nicely on top of that. So we are going to move on to the star of the show, which is that really bright kind of silvery blue that I have there. And I started that out using my Jouer Skinny Dip Shimmer Shadow Palette. Sorry, that is really reflective. I am going to start with the shade Starlight, which is the silver one. I am going to wet my brush just a bit with some Fix Plus, and then I'm going to further dry that down. I want it just a little wet, but not completely saturated, because even though the color, I noticed when I was putting it on, comes out nice and metallic, comes out a little thin, and I do want the color to be very opaque. So I am going to start out with my Sigma Cream Color E58 brush, which is a beautiful tapered brush there, just really nice for doing this type of work with like shimmers and glitters and that sort of thing. So I've wet my brush with the Fix Plus. I went ahead and dried off the excess, and I'm going to pick up Starlight from that Jouer palette, and I am going to start in the inner corner, and then I'm going to work outward. Even with shimmers, I tend to go above the crease because when I open my eyes, a lot is lost to my eyes being hooded. So I will go above and then blend out after that. And I just brought it out about 3/4 of the way. I want to leave the corner empty because that's where I'm going to put the black, and then also smudge that to the top and blow that out up there. So once I'm satisfied with how this silver looks, I'm going to go on top of that with another shimmer shade from a different palette. That palette is the Maybelline City Mini palette, and this is in 470 Girls Night Glimmer. So let me just open this up so you can see what it looks like. I picked this up in Ulta some time ago, and I noticed that it wasn't something that I had seen at like CVS or Walgreens, and as soon as I saw that it was an all shimmer palette, I picked it up right away. So we're going to be going into this shade right here. I don't know if you can pick it up really well on the camera, but it has kind of an iridescent blue shift to it. Not as blue as this one over here, but it still isn't just silver. So I wanted to add it on top of the silver that I have on my eyelid already. So to apply the icy blue shade, I'm going to pick up a ColourPop brush. Again, I'm going to complain they never put the names on these brushes, but I will find this online and link it below. It's a brush that they have in their regular line, but you can see it's almost like a tapered brush. And I like it because it's very flat, so it applies glitters and shimmers very well. I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the other shade. I'm going to put a little Fix Plus on my brush, and then I am going to dry most of that off because I don't want it to be too wet, but still just a little damp. And I'm going to go ahead and pick up this shade right here, and then just basically place it on top of the silver that I already have on my eye. And then I am going to grab my Sedona Lace brush again, and I'm just going to start lightly blending that where the silver meets the rest of the eye, just to start blending that out a bit so it's not too harsh. So once you can tell that it's starting to take the edge off that line where it's not as harsh as it used to be, I'm going to go back into the Tarte in Bloom palette, and I am going to grab the first color that we used, which is Rebel right here, and I am going to grab my E40 brush, and I'm going to further blend that out just using that transition shade. As you keep blending, you're going to notice that it's going to start softening up the edges of the silver, and that's exactly what you want. Again, it's going to be prominent because it is a prominent color and a position on the, you know, like on the position on the eye that we put it in, but you still want it to have a little kind of blown out look without necessarily looking too harsh. So once I have that blended out the way I want it, I'm going to go into a black eyeshadow to deepen up the corners and a little bit up top. So the color that I'm using today is actually a new eyeshadow that I purchased during the VIB sale at Sephora. I have been wanting this shadow for so long and it's always sold out, and finally it came back into stock, so I definitely wanted to get it during the VIB sale. And it is the Natasha Denona Blackest Black eyeshadow, and this is the matte version. They also have a black with sparkles in it, but I love a good matte black shadow, so I had to grab this. The very interesting thing about this single shadow is that it has a mirror, which is really weird for me, but whatever. But this is what the shadow looks like, and I am extremely impressed with it so far. This is the first time I'm using it, but I've already used it on this eye, and you can absolutely deepen it up if you wanted to, but it blends out beautifully. It applies to the eye really nicely, so I know that this is a black eyeshadow that I am going to be using constantly, because again, I love a really good matte black shadow. So for that, I am going to be picking up another ColourPop brush. This one is an older one. It's a pink handle there, but they do have this type of brush with their permanent line. So again, I will link it down below for you because these things do not have names, but it's almost like a tapered blending, if you could see there. And I just like it because it's not too big, so it helps me to be very precise in my application. So I'm just going to dip this into the black shadow. I'm going to tap off the excess, and I'm going to start just tapping that onto the outer third of my eyelid. Once that's nice and dark, I'm going to start taking it a little above the silver, just about halfway onto the eye, not all the way to the inner corner. And because you're going to eventually blend this out further to make sure that it's blown out and very smoky, you always want to put a little more than what you normally would, because you're going to take some of that color off anyway as you continue to blend. So that's going to do it for the black. I'm going to grab the Sedona lace brush, and I am going to start buffing that out to make sure that I have no harsh lines. And I'm just doing it at the very top of the black because, of course, I want to keep a lot of that black on there. So I'm very lightly just blending that out on the edges. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into the Tartelette in Bloom palette. I'm going to go into Rebel, which was that transition shade, and add a little more up top. And that will also help to further blow out that black shadow. One of the other things I always do as well, especially when I'm doing such a stark contrast with colors on the lid, is I make sure that the dark color and the shimmer are a little blended in the center of the lid. You still want that contrast, but you don't want it so stark unless that is a look that you're going for, which is absolutely fine. But I like to just blend a little bit of the darker color onto the silver so that it looks kind of like a natural gradation of color. I'm going to go back into the Tartelette in Bloom. I'm going to pick up the very lightest shade, which is a white shade called Charmer up here, and I'm going to use that to highlight the brow bone. Because we already have a lot of shimmer going on in the eye, I wanted to stick to a matte white, although I have been doing that a lot lately. But again, this look doesn't have to be the way I do it. If you want a shimmer to highlight the brow bone and add further interest to the look, absolutely go for it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up under the eyes. I'm also going to do my winged liner off camera, and then I'll be back to finish off the rest of the face. So I cleaned up under my eyes, and I also did my liner. For that, I used my Inglot gel liner in number 77, which is just their basic black. It's one of my absolute favorite gel liners, hands down. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Lasts all day, doesn't flake or cake up or anything. It's gorgeous. So to do the rest of the face, I am actually going to be using two primers today. Now that we're in the winter months here in Connecticut, my skin is starting to just go haywire. I still do have an oily T-zone, but the rest of my face tends to feel very dry during these winter months. So For the rest of the face, because I've already done the forehead, so for that, I use the Makeup Forever Step 1 Mattifying Primer. I'm also going to use a little bit of this on my nose and chin because, I still have the oily T-zone. So I'm just going to apply a little bit of that onto the chin area and the nose. So basically just down the middle of my face. And then for the rest of my face, I'm going to use one of my favorite primers for this time of year is the TooFaced Hangover RX. It really does moisturize the face, just does such a good job with keeping your skin just hydrated and beautiful, looking very healthy as well, because a lot of times I think that when we get into those winter months and you're in like a hot car, then you get out in the cold weather and you're in a hot house and you know, but cold outside, your skin just does so many weird things, and I know mine does. So I love bringing this primer out during the winter months because I just think it's so beautiful on the skin and helps me with the dryness that I feel. For corrector today, I am going to be using my Urban Decay Naked Skin in the dark peach. I've used this many, many times before. You guys are probably tired of seeing it, but it is one of my favorite correctors, and I always correct when I do my makeup. So I'm just going to apply a little bit of that under the eye to neutralize those dark circles. Then I am going to take my Real Technique sponge, which needs to be washed, and use the pointed end to just start pressing that into the skin under the eyes. For foundation today, because this is a holiday look and I want the skin to be very flawless, very airbrush looking, and also last a long time, I am going to be using my MAC Pro Longwear Foundation. It is one of my favorite full coverage foundations. It is definitely full coverage, and when I want that type of look, this is pretty much the first foundation I will reach for. I do have to lighten it just a bit, so I'm going to grab my lightening drops from the Body Shop. Not too much, but just a bit, because my skin, now that we're in the winter months, is also getting lighter because I don't get a lot of sun as much as I do in the summer. So I'm just going to lighten this up, and then I am going to apply that over the rest of my face. A little more, I'm going to take my damp beauty blender and I'm just going to start pressing that foundation into the skin. I will get to the eye area where the orange corrector is, but for now I just want to get the foundation on the rest of the face, being that the orange, I don't want to kind of get it on the rest of the face, and that'll be the last thing that I do. So I'm going to put just a little more foundation. Then for concealer today, again, I wanted to go very full coverage, so I decided to use my NARS Soft Matte Concealer, which I absolutely love. You guys have seen me use this before. It is one of those concealers that is just gorgeous, full coverage, but doesn't crease. It's just so beautiful and soft underneath the eyes. I absolutely love it. So I always make sure to bring it up a little bit just so that I get a really nice line between the shadow and my skin, and it looks even more perfect. I use the makeup wipe, as you know, to kind of carve out just that line to go up, and then I use my concealer to just further sharpen up that line. Just going to use the pointed end of my damp beauty blender, and I am going to press that into the skin. To set the under eye like I normally do, I'm going to pick up my banana powder from Anastasia. This is usually in the contour kit, like the regular OG one, and you can buy the refills to just refill, you know, the contour kit. I have noticed lately that the banana powder shade has been out of stock on both the Anastasia website and also Macy's, which is sometimes where I get them. But really any banana powder that you feel works well, or any under eye powder that works well, whatever your preference. It doesn't have to be this one. I just happen to like this one because it brightens up under my eyes. I tend to use concealer that is my skin tone, not lighter, so this just helps to lighten it up just a bit and to brighten up the area under the eye. Then to set the rest of the face, I am going to use my Flower Beauty Powder Up Loose Powder. I don't believe that they have this for sale anymore, but they still have a loose powder on the Flower Beauty website. I just don't think it's this specific one anymore. So I'm just using my BH Cosmetics V1 brush, which is a nice fluffy brush, and I am just going to tap that into the skin to set my foundation. So we're going to go ahead and finish up underneath the eyes. I'm going to zoom you in just a bit so you can see what I'm doing. In this instance, you can really do what you want to do. If you want to do all black on the bottom, that's what I was going to do. But because this is more of an icy look, I decided that I was going to change that up a bit and use a very prominent like blue teal in the inner half of the under eye there. But again, you can use that, you can use silver, you can use all black, whatever you want to do is what you want to do, and I think it's going to look beautiful any which way that you decide to finish off the under eye. So I'm going to start with doing that icy blue, and then I'm going to finish off with black on the outer half of the under eye. I'm going to use a blue for underneath the eyes that I have been obsessed with lately. And I don't normally throw that term around, but this is probably the third or fourth time that I've used this specific color in order to really, really make the bottom of the eye pop. And I'm going to be going into the Saharan 2 by Juvia's Place into this shade right here, which is called Berber. It is absolutely gorgeous. So again, I wanted to make the bottom pop. And because the top is a little more silvery than blue, even though we do have some of that blue on top from the City Mini palette, I really wanted to make it very prominent on the bottom. So I'm just going to start it on the inner half, or on the inner corner, and then pull it out to the half of the eye. So I'm just doing the lash line for me. As you know, I have no lashes, but I'm not tight lining with this. This has glitter, and unless you want glitter in your eye, I wouldn't personally recommend it. I know like even this eye is watering a lot because I have a lot of glitter going on, but I'm just doing the lash line with this, and then I will tight line with a black liner because I happen to like black liners, you know, doing the tight line on the inside when I'm done with this. So what I'm gonna also do, because I have to be extra and it's a holiday look, I'm gonna go into this shade right here. It's Chefchaouen, I believe, and that's a really icy blue. So I'm gonna pick that up and lightly tap that over what I've already done. And as you can see there, hopefully you're picking that up, it ices it up beautifully. I'm going to pick up the Natasha Denona Blackest Black, and the brush that I've been using and I'm going to continue to use is my Sigma Flat Definer E15, which is that brush right there. My absolute favorite for getting on the lash line. Then I'm going to pick up my Morphe E36, which is a really tiny fluffy brush. This is what I normally use. For under the eye, I'm going to pick up the black again just a bit. I'm going to make sure to tap off any excess. And just that outer corner, I'm going to smudge that up a bit so it could be a little smokier. For bronzer today, I'm going to use my Bare Minerals Ready Bronzer, and this is in the High Dive. I'm going to be using that with the BH Cosmetics 114 brush, which is what I've been favoring for bronzing lately, and I'm just going to bronze up the skin. For blush today, I decided to go into my MAC compact that I created myself. I'm going to use this blush here. It's called Fever. For highlighter, I'm going to go in with my LA Girl Strobe Light Strobing Powder. This is the 110 watt, which is pretty intense, so I'm not going to pick up too much. I'll build it up, but I don't want to go in right off the bat too intense. Just gonna run a little down the tip of my nose and a little bit on my Cupid's bow, not too much. I'm not one for highlighter on the Cupid's bow. If you watch my videos, that happens very, very rarely. So I am going to pop on some false lashes, and then I will be back to finish off the face with lips. So I went ahead and put on some false lashes. I also styled my hair a little fancier than I normally do. I also put on a pair of gorgeous earrings that I have that I absolutely love. These are costume jewelry earrings, but they have like fake diamonds, and then in the middle it's like an icy blue gem, so I thought that it would finish off the look perfectly. And the lashes that I'm wearing are from Kiss, and they are in the style Little Black Dress. These were chosen for the 2017 Allure Best in Beauty, and I wanted to try them, and I absolutely love them because they're very natural, but still add a little something to the eye without being overbearing. So we're gonna go ahead and finish off with lips today. I am using the NARS Precision Lip Liner in Le Lavendue. I've used this a lot on my channel. I just absolutely love how it's kind of mauvey but a little bit plummy. And because I'm not using a matte lip today, I want to make sure that I layer my lip products so that as I am drinking or eating during the holiday party, and you know, things kind of start just disappearing, I'm not just going to go from one color to just my lips. So I am going to line my lips and also fill in my lips with this pencil, put a color on top of that, and then a lip gloss on top of that. So let's go ahead and line the lips. So to continue on with the lips, I am going to go in with my Deck of Scarlet One Stroke Graphic Lip Pencil in Mia. I have talked about this before, and one of the things that I hated about the palettes was that anything that you got with them, hence this lip crayon, you couldn't purchase it separately. Well, I think maybe about a month and a half ago, I got an email stating that, guess what? We're starting to sell everything in individuals and, you know, even the shadows and blushes. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So you can actually now get this crayon plus their other products individually on their website. And I believe right now they're having a sale. So I'm so excited to hear that because I put this lip crayon away because I didn't want to go through it and not be able to get another one without having to buy a new palette. So now I can use it as much as I want. So I'm just going to take it and start filling in the lips. This is a very soft crayon, which I love. It's kind of a grayish mauve, but it is just the perfect grayish mauve. And to brighten up the lips, because it did get a little dark, I am going to go in with my Gerard Cosmetics lip gloss in Divalicious, which has a little bit of a mauve hue to it, but also a little pink, so I think it's going to brighten this up very nicely. So I'm just going to lightly put it on the lips. And so we're a little lighter there than we were before. And again, because I wasn't going to be using a matte lip color as I continuously drink and talk and the night goes on, I'm not just going to go from a lip color to my lips. It's going to gradually fade, but there's going to be stuff under it, and especially that lip liner, which adheres very nicely to the lips, so that you always have a little something on the lips, even if it just looks like a lip stain. So today, to finish off the look, I'm going to be using a new spray. This is the Skindinavia Makeup Finishing Spray, and it's the one in Bridal, which people talk about left and right because it's supposed to lock everything in for hours. That's why they call it Bridal, because of course, as the wedding day progresses, you want your makeup to stay fixed to your face. So I'm going to go ahead and finish off with this spray. So this is the first time I'm using this spray. Smells very nice. There really isn't actually a lingering scent. You get a little scent at the beginning, but nothing that lingers. I know some finishing sprays can be really offensive to the senses, but this is just really nice. So I am going to be wearing this look today, even though I'm not really going to a holiday party today. I'm going to be wearing this look for several hours. So I'm very interested in seeing how that spray actually works to keep everything locked in. So that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed me putting together this holiday party look. I hope it's something that you feel inspired to recreate on yourself or someone else. Before you leave, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Also click that little bell so you get alerted as to whenever I upload new content. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.